The differentiator is experience. So we know that if you're making the effort to come here, first we have to have a value proposition. But then what's going to keep you here long enough for you to explore the entire village? What's going to bring you back? And we recognize that's the experience. You start realizing that if you don't get the experience to emotionally connect with the customer, or in our case, the guest, then you're just doing pure retailing.
You're all very welcome to today's episode of Trust Builders. We've got a very special guest, which I'll introduce in a second. And obviously, we're joined today by Alex Genove, so you're all very welcome. Superb. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Mazhar. And Mazhar is a distinguished customer experience leader whose career spans international aviation and luxury retail. I have to say, Mazhar, they're two of the most demanding sectors in CX, so you've not chosen the easy path. And I'd just like to welcome everyone who's joined our latest episode of Trust Builders. Now, Mazhar, I'm going to hopefully make you blush, but you're a certified CX professional, accredited international airports professional as well, and you have judged many a CX awards session as well. And you've over 2 decades of experience for managing passenger experience at 3 global aviation hubs. That's Heathrow, Dubai, and Dallas. So I'm wondering, is that in a triangle, or, trying to work out, there's
a Bermuda Triangle somewhere in between those 3, I think, but we don't fly over that or through that.
Exactly. And really in your work, you've earned the Airport Future Travel Experience Award for Best Passenger Assistance Initiative. And then obviously your work as the Senior Vice President of Customer Experience at Dallas Fort Worth transformed the customer experience delivery, resulting in that airport becoming the best large airport in North America. So there we go. Digging out some stats there, Mazhar. I haven't finished now. So just bringing everyone up to speed. So Mazhar currently serves Director of Guest Experience for Value Retail, and you're really continuing to push the boundaries of exceptional customer service delivery in the luxury retail space, and really fascinating international flagship luxury destinations everywhere from London, New York, Paris, Milan, and Shanghai. So today, Mazhar, thank you for joining, and you're very welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. Great to be here.
Yes, and I should have said the most important part of your bio is you're a passionate Liverpool FC fan, which we can't be too disappointed by the result last night. I saw on the UC feed to sell Nunez, there was quite the shot he missed at the end. So there we go. But you're very welcome.
Thank you. I won't talk too much about last night, but equally I'd say it's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's it. I think
you've got to take these little stumbling blocks positively and learn from it very quickly and get ready for the next one.
This is it. Now, what I think you and Alex have both in common, Alex obviously worked in retail with Zappos, but you both have made the journey over to Belfast. I had the pleasure of welcoming you both in the year, so we might compare notes at the end of that. So Mazhar, we talked about the value of emotion, and this is something that you have really pioneered in your career, and this is quite a difficult area of focus, particularly when you bring it into a commercial setting and at board level, and you quite rightly connect it to memory. Could you just give us a quick reflection on that based on your experience?
Yeah, so you mentioned, thank you for the intro. I was trying to figure out who this person is because it doesn't sound like me, but thank you for the intro. So value retail, whilst there's a huge focus on luxury retail, and it operates like any other retail entity would in terms of marketing spread, whether it's domestic or international, the work with the brands in terms of product, pricing strategy, seasonality, relevance. That to me is core retailing, and that's what makes you a really strong retail operator. But value retail's are differentiated in our villages, as we call them, not shopping centers, but they really are designed and operated as if they're a small village. The differentiator is experience. because all our villages tend to be around 45 minutes to an hour outside a main city, whether it's London, Paris, Munich, Milan. So that's not competing directly with the kind of flagship of the brand in the main city. So you have to make an effort to get there. It's a train, a bus ride, or a train ride, or a car journey. So we know that if you're making the effort to come here, first we have to have a value proposition. But then what's going to keep you here long enough for you to explore the entire village? What's going to go back and make you talk about it to others and encourage them to visit? What's going to bring you back? And we recognize, more than a decade ago, that's the experience. And then when you delve more into, okay, so what is an experience? What drives an experience? It's actually your emotions. And Chris, one of our first conversations, we spoke about what percentage of decisions to purchase are emotional in that. And we're looking at, often 70, 80, in some cases 90%, they're emotional decisions. You start realizing that if you don't get the experience to emotionally connect with the customer, or in our case, the guest, then you're just doing pure retailing. Our founder, Scott Malkin, who's a billionaire property developer from New York, he started this venture 30 years ago now. Scott always says, Amazon and Alibaba won the war. The war is over. There is no war in retail. They've won the war. But what they've won the war in is logistics and mass retail. We're not logistics and mass retail. We are about experience and a shopping experience and retail. So when you define yourself as that, when you're saying it's about the experience, the importance of emotions becomes paramount, almost as important, if not more important than the brand, the product, the size, the seasonality, because our marketing message to get you out of your house an hour away from our village, or to get the tourists who have flown into the city and to get them out of the hotels and spend a day with us rather than the tourist sites, that message has to have an emotional link. Our entire marketing campaign is emotionally driven. We don't talk about the shoes and the price of the shoes, the dress, because we don't sell the shoes. The brand sells the shoes. We sell the experience. We say, come to our village and you will have this experience. So that's where the work with yourselves, Chris, became really important, because there was no measure of emotion. There was no measure for me. We were measuring satisfaction. We were measuring every retail touch point you can think of in that guest journey. And then we were linking it back and trying to understand, so what isn't working and why is it working one day but not working the other day? And through trial and error, my learning here was we're not understanding the emotions well enough of that guest journey. They've still had the transaction. They've walked in, they've walked out. They've had a conversation. They've read our material. They've read the marketing, but they haven't necessarily connected with us emotionally. And we haven't understood emotionally what's making them want to buy, what's making them want to stay, and what's making them want to come back. And to me, that was the missing link in that space of excellence. We can measure satisfaction, but we needed to look. And now we are in the early stages of that. I think there's still a lot more there. The world, this has opened up for us in just understanding the emotional responses of guests to different brands, different products, different activations, different times of year, different everything. The world that's opened up is limitless. And the opportunities that opened up are limitless. I have personally gone through a journey of 8 years of quantitative data and hit a certain mark in terms of organizational buy-in. And it was a fairly low ceiling because I couldn't come back and say, here's how guests will want to buy more. I've now got a year working with a door board and I've hit the highest part of the ceiling of the organization in everyone wanting to understand. So what does that mean emotionally for the guest? How does this proposition? And that's where joining the two together, satisfaction, joining it with emotion, has suddenly opened up a whole world of opportunities for us. And that journey hasn't been easy, Chris, because when you start opening up the topic of emotion with an internal audience, everyone tends to have their own definition of emotion. It can be quite subjective. So having a model that is based on an academic study, as you have, and having analysis based on an AI tool, not an individual with Excel. Those two elements make a big difference because they take the emotions of the emotion measuring out of the equation. And what you end up with are essentially facts based on a model, based on research methodology. So it's been an interesting journey, and I'm excited about where this could take not just us as an organization, more importantly, the industry. Because I'm a great believer in if you raise the bar across the industry of understanding your customer, you end up raising the bar internally in your organization because the industry's bar is risen. But to me, this is about also bringing others to the fray and making others realize the power of understanding emotion in a retail context.
Superb. And I think, Alex, this is a real case study here about, I suppose, your core focus about thinking about your customers' people and going beyond the metric, and just reflecting on what you're hearing from Mazhar. I'm sure you'd resonate with some of the key aspects that have been discussed so far.
Absolutely, Mazhar. Everything you said is music to my ears. I think my background is in behavioral science and psychology, and I couldn't agree more that it's about emotions. If you think about the state of retail right now, and it's the dire state, right? And why is that? Is because they forgot that. They forgot that it's about experiences, and they're only trying to sell things.
Mm.
When you talked about what you're doing with this village and this space, and reminds me of the Michelin star. You guys are, the 3-star Michelin is where the destination. You take a special time out of your day to go special, not to stop by on the way or to make a little detour, but to go. And that to me is I think that's what you're doing. I completely agree. And it is about, many times they think about operations, and you're absolutely right. Operational excellence is how Amazon won. But it's the personal experience, the little details when you go there. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, right? When you get there, it's about the little things. It's about restrooms and thinking about everything. And that's what I completely agree with you about the door board. When Chris and I started talking years ago, I was impressed by a door board's focus. It was built on the scientific study of emotion, right? The validated theories of emotion. And now, over the years, Chris and team has made it very practical and very, but still based on solid science.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing for me. I'm an engineer, so for me, if the core process isn't robust and doesn't prove itself through testing, then it's a hypothesis and not a process. So I think what you just said, it's still based on hard science. And whilst prior to using a door board as a tool, we would look at guest comments, and we would ask the individual in each village who received the comments to categorize them. Instantly, we've now relying on an individual categorizing good, bad, and different. So there's no scale of when it's good, is it just a little bit good or great? When it's bad, is it horrendous, bad, or bad? Some comments had a combination of 3 emotions. This was good, that was bad, I'm not sure. Well, that kind of went into a different bucket altogether. So you end up with a process that A, is subjective, and B, doesn't enable you to take any action because you haven't agreed, here's my trigger, here's my threshold. Anything above that, I've got to act. Anything below that, I'll have to accept. The Adore board tool, and again, this was one of my early conversations, having the Adore score. Now, again, you can choose internally what's a good Adore score or what's a poor Adore score. That's absolutely fine. But acknowledge it's come through a science. And then your process of choosing is scientific. I'm going to reach this point. And that for me is where the art of understanding emotion, but also principle science, some kind of robust process behind it, enabled certainly me in the world of retail to get this embedded and acknowledged and approved and adapted. Because retail, and you'll know this, Alex, in the world of fashion, there's 2 very different worlds. There's the whole kind of creative, flair-driven, emotions-driven, whatever it is. It's set trending. That's the future. And then you've got, even in retail, the number crunchers, the logistics, the analytics. So the retail world that I operate in has that in abundance within the organization. So you're trying to appeal to both sides to get both sides to say, I actually believe in this data. And having an emotional index, and you show them critical of emotion, they kind of go, oh, it's over here, it's over here. Oh my God, it's over there. They connect instantly with the emotional side of it. And then you show the others the scores and say, look, you're high here, you're low here, here's a comment, here that's driven. And they instantly think, well, actually, I can improve this now because I know 1% effort here will have an impact there. So a tool that allows you to match both is the key here. So I completely agree. It has to be that much in real time.
Absolutely. To build on what you're saying, I mean, it falls upon every organization to validate. So having that scientific score and that objective score, as much as you can, can operationally define and agree upon an emotion score. Because you're right, emotions it's not one thing. It's a construct made up of many things, and it's hard to measure objectively, but a door board is one, have found a way to do it. But you have to validate it internally. You have to connect it. If you don't connect it to other metrics, and, when I was at Zappos and advocating for this kind of measurement, I would be asked by executives that were came from engineering and very, objective based. Well, what's the real data? Give me the real data. And so what I didn't argue, but I understood what they wanted to connect it to the numbers in the spreadsheets. And we did that. We did hard correlation between net sentiment, right? But I had to explain and teach the organization executives what's the difference between net promoter and net sentiment. How can you have a net promoter that gives you a low net sentiment score?
Yeah.
That education, I'm sure you've gone through all of that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to maybe provide a linking statement. It was a stat by Gartner that said that 83% of CX professionals are unable to link the CX initiative to the bottom line impact. And Mazhar, this is ultimately the acid test, right? You're trying to connect CX initiative to bottom line impact, and that's what really matters. Could you maybe talk through some of the innovations that you guys, even the thought process around, a future behavior that you're trying to get an insight into, the predictive view of that, and then translating that to...
Because I'll start with a very quick example of the aviation days. It's in the world of aviation, there's one survey that pretty much literally every airport in the world does. So that's the Airport Service Quality Monitor, ASQ. And that's overseen by the Airport Council International. So there's one survey, same survey in over 180 airports. So that gives you a good benchmark across the airports. But of course, an airport in the Far East and an airport in the US, you have to look locally for differences in needs. So I was a big advocate of that survey, but what was missing in that survey was there's no link to bottom line commercial aspirations of the organization. So you can see your satisfaction going up or going down. You can do correlation analysis of what's driving it, but you can never see does a satisfied guest spend more money and does a dissatisfied one spend less money. So we developed a survey when I was in Dubai Airport, our own internal survey based on a very similar question methodology. But we then included some questions around, as a result of the experience today, did you spend significantly less, a lot less? And that was the first time, and that was without any dollars or pounds or dirhams linked, but it was giving you an idea, where do I sit with satisfaction? We correlated to see the 5s are here, the 4s are here, the 3s are here. When we came to Value Retail during Mr. Village, and we created our very own first survey, it's exactly the same thing. Find link correlation between satisfaction and spend. And we measured it for domestic guests in UK, but Middle Eastern guests, for Chinese guests, for all Southeast Asian, and we found huge correlation between satisfaction and spend. The question always comes back as, so if satisfaction goes up by 0.1, what does spend go up by? And that's where the science can be a bit tricky, because it's not as simple as, well, if it goes up by 0.1, you can do some regressions and say, every 0.1 equals the X 100,000 or X million, but it's not a guarantee, because You don't want to be the one who the CEO says, right, I'll spend 10 million, get the satisfaction up, satisfaction goes up, the spend hasn't. So we always had this gap between how to improve it. Where we are now with using the Adorable tool, we were able to link our members' spend, because we know the members, they come in, they use our QR code to come and shop. So we've got a record of their spend held in one database. And then we're surveying the same members. They're giving us their feedback. What you actually got now, rather than significantly more or less, we've actually got the real spend, and we've got your data, your actual satisfaction data. So working with Adorable, and this was where the tool became super exciting for us, we could merge the two together, use the Adorable tool to not only look at the correlation between the two, but start measuring what's the opportunity lost. How much money have you potentially lost? Because some guests said their Adore score was below 0. Then you had some guests Adore score below 20. When you start adding these things up, you start realizing actually there's a cost, direct cost, or a direct opportunity lost to the satisfaction not being what it needs to be. And I think that's the exciting part, where we can now invest in the knowledge that this will or this should result in an increase in spend, because it's very, very individual specific spend. And that's where I think the attention, the interest from CEOs and co has escalated, because they now realize what that potential is.
So that's quite interesting, because at one level, you're connecting emotion to a future metric, which is, are you going to return to the village? But then you've been able to then weight that to a dollar value. Just in terms of then, do you feel then that's empowered the organization, or more people setting up to say, okay, that's engendering an action across the organization as a result of presenting insights in this way?
Yeah, the key to it is, at the end of the day, it's still what's the impact bottom line? What's the return on investment of really focusing the organization as a whole onto this as a journey? So for us, it's understanding potential gain of investment in staff courtesy. Because you're going to measure, so it's small chain, investor staff courtesy, investor staff willingness to help. That should result in, through the analysis, the satisfaction, and that's again the emotional connection increasing. You can then measure, has that increase in the Adore score for those two measures resulted in guests spending more in those boutiques? When you can link that chain up very, very quickly, you can start saying, right, this definitely does have an impact. It's worth investing here because it drives this. That then gets the attention of the C-suite leaders, because they can see a chain. It's not a nice to have. It's still a hypothesis, but it's a hypothesis based on some logic. And you can measure it along the way to say, is it or isn't it having an impact? And that goes across many, many elements. If they're going to have conversations with brands and boutiques around product or size, if we do that, does the Adore score for range of sizes, range of brands, range of products, does that change? And if that changes, again, does the spend change? Once you start linking that piece, you're almost homing in like a heat-seeking missile. You're homing in on things that will have the biggest impact on return. And like any commercial organization, you are looking for where the biggest returns are going to be first and foremost.
Superb. Alex, any reflections there? Because what we're talking about is, how do you balance putting people at the center and obviously, focusing on emotion, but then speaking the language that will drive the action internally? Maybe a quick reflection or a further question from you to Mazhar.
Well, that's an extremely interesting problem. And, I've thought a lot about it, again, in the context of now this current obsession with numbers and data, and the point that customers, passengers, they're not numbers, they're people, right? And we started here before you joined with a little anecdote of the statistician who had his head in a hot oven and feet in a block of ice, but on the average they felt just fine, right? That average experience doesn't exist, and I'm sure you would agree with that. But the problem is that nowadays a lot of leaders and executives take this model of humans as just numbers. They think that they are very comfortable assuming that it's a very kind of scientific and it's a relationship that's almost like explained by physical sciences, right? And you're an engineer, and you say, well, this you apply pressure to this beam, and it's gonna. They think that people behave that way, and that's why they're demanding this. Well, if you increase the pressure here, how is that gonna? People are not bricks or beams, so that's I think part of working with Chris and working with tools like a doorboard. The long-term effect, I hope, is changing of that mindset. Because if you ask these executives individually, when you've been to the airport, right? If you are really upset, would you buy more? No, I'm going to sit down and take a nap or something. But when they become the decision maker, they're like, well, give me the hard numbers that show, and Anyway, I'm rambling.
No, if I may build on that, I like what you said there, is because there's almost this binary thing about this just has to happen, which in the world of science, that's what you boil down to. But here's another twist to it, where the more, what I've done with the doorboard tool is, rather than channeling it through one audience, I've consciously and purposely gone to a very, very broad audience, simply because it's a tool bringing emotional intelligence, if you like, into the world of guest-centered research. So by going to different people, different colleagues in different disciplines, my objective was to see how do they interpret the tool and where do they see the use of the tool. Because that's where you start realizing, actually, this is more than just about this singular research. Because when it comes to the C-suite, I have to show all the different potential. I just want to share one example with you, because for me, this was a real big moment. So clearly we're looking at our membership, and we have members' data. We have consent for them to communicate marketing and other things. We have personas. We have the levels. We know, if Chris is a member, we know which level is that. We know his persona. We have his research, his shopping history with us. And the marketing director in one of the villages said to me, so just so I understand it, your tool can give me an insight into Chris's last visit, as in how did it make him feel emotionally, him specifically. I can then take it away and say, but I know Chris is this persona, which means he should spend this much and he should go into this brand, but he didn't. I can then understand emotionally what was Chris thinking, feeling, and I can then tailor my response, be it calm, be it offers, be it whatever, to Chris. Either Chris on a one-to-one basis, or the persona Chris is in, to all of them on a one-to-one basis. I can also understand from a doorboard which brands are connecting with Chris, and Chris is that persona. I may have got it wrong. I may have got the wrong brand, but I can use the emotional response from Chris now to really look at my marketing one-to-one, marketing one-to-many, and also my remerchandising and the whole strategy around which brand fit. Now that, to me, is taking guest research, just because it's an emotional tool, to a whole different level. And based on that, we've started discussions with our remerchandising team, because they're saying we're looking at the 5-year remerchandising strategy. We need to understand emotionally which brand do connect with the right guest. Because we're not going to bring the brand in last minute, because it takes a year to get a brand in probably. But we need to know what guests are saying, thinking, feeling emotionally. So even aside from, if we improve this, we should get more sales here. Aside from that discussion, we've now opened up a whole different discussion, which doesn't have to have a dollar sign attached to instantly, because the C-suite understand the value of marketing. And when a marketing director says, I can market the message better. And then on the back of that, the digital content team starts saying, but I can use different artwork and different data sets to put a different visual for this persona, because emotionally they want these feelings. It's opening up a whole new world. And again, I go back to the limit.
Quick break. Hope you're enjoying my interview with Chris. I know I am. Here, my book. You got to get this book. It's so awesome. Construction Genius, effective, hands-on, practical, simple, no BS, leadership, sales, strategy, and marketing advice for construction companies. The reason it's so awesome is because it's very simple and see the difference immediately. And the great news is the book is only $19.99 on Amazon. So all you have to do is go to Amazon, read all of the reviews. We have over 50 reviews with a 5-star average. And the insights there are, what people say about the book is, I couldn't have said that myself. So the benefit of buying the book, and then get yourself a copy. Kindle, you can go on Audible, you can go soft copy. If you're feeling posh, you can get a hard copy, hardback copy. And you can get one for not only you, but everyone in your leadership team, because you guys can read it as a book club and discuss it and hold each other accountable for the application of Eric at constructiongenius.com. And I will schedule with you a free 1-hour question and answers and bonus leadership training session with your team as a thank you for getting those 10 plus copies. And that's a $3,500 value. All right, let's get back to the interview.